So Jock, first of all, welcome to Hamilton, confirmed as our new chairman. First of all, it's been well documented, your links to the club already, both as a fan and as a professional. Can you maybe elaborate on that for anybody who maybe isn't aware of the links you already have to Hamilton?
Well, I started coming here when I was a boy at school. I started school in 1951, would you believe? And I was allowed to come here about 2 years later on my own. And I walked from my house in Hamilton to the game and watched the game behind the goal that Accies were kicking into each half and changed at half time and tried to suck the ball into the net in those days. So that was the start of it for me.
And you were just talking to me off camera there, you remember your first game at Douglas Park, the original Douglas Park as well?
That was Douglas Park was the place to go, that's right. Great playing surface too. The groundsman was so fussy. He wouldn't let anybody train on it. You couldn't train on it. They ran around the track, but they couldn't actually get on the pitch during the week. And the pitch was a bowling green. It was magnificent. Bobby Shearer Senior was the father of Bobby Shearer that played for Accies and then Rangers. And the pitch was terrific. So I started coming. I can't remember the very first game in itself, but I started coming regularly from that time on, from 53 on.
And obviously, as an Accies fan, you'll be keeping an eye on the Accies results over the years, and now obviously you returned in a professional capacity. Absolutely.
It's always been first result to look for wherever I've been, and I've always not been able to come when I've been working all over the place, and I was down south at university and things like that. In fact, I was at Cambridge University and I played there, and we used to get on the team bus after a game we played on a Saturday, which was usually a bit earlier than the league games, and we hear sports report on the radio. And everybody hushed to hear all the scores. So it'd be Arsenal 4, Manchester United 2 and all that stuff. And all the supporters of all these clubs are all hanging on that. You get the next division and we're still listening a wee bit. Then the noise came up in the bubble and all that stuff. By the time we got the Scottish stuff, the place was a riot. I'm screaming out, wait a minute. And eventually, we got to the point where they started all the talking about the English third division. Scottish First Division in those days, still talking, and they all shut up for the Accies score in the second division. And they got a big cheer on the bus if they won. So I got them educated a wee bit.
And now you're back, obviously, in the club as a chairman. I'm interested, what is it about the Accies project that made you want to come back into football?
Well, it was undoubtedly spending quite a long time talking to Sheriff and to Jerry Strain, because when I first started talking about it, I was extremely reserved about it, and I think people will understand that, unfortunately, that you would immediately Hamilton Accies, I don't know about that, no, I don't know about that, because there's been a kind of a reputation issue, I think it's fair to say, about the club for quite a long time. It's not the first time I've been involved with the club, I'll tell you about the second time in a minute, but and I took a long time talking to Jerry and to Sheriff to satisfy myself this was a project well worth getting involved in. The New Era project that Sheriff is promoting had all the things, all the ingredients I thought that were really worth supporting for the Accies. And after doing that, I became quite convinced it was something I really wanted to get involved in, because I hope and think I can maybe bring something to it that will help that process.
What is it that you think you can bring in a professional capacity?
Well, I've got a fair range of experience, both legal and in the world of football, for quite a long time. So I've been involved in the game really all my life, and I know a lot of people, a lot of contacts. And in that situation, you glean a lot of information that I think could be helpful to a club like Accies. In fact, it sparked off with me actually responding to a LinkedIn post by Jerry when he was asking anyone out there with some ideas that might be worth pursuing for Hamilton. And I responded to that LinkedIn post and said I thought I had some things to bring to it, which I wasn't going to put in the LinkedIn, but I would do in a meeting.
Yep.
And that's how it started.
Obviously, we've talked already about you being a fan. How big of an impact do you think that will have on your position as a chairman as well?
Well, you actually have to be a little more detached than being a fan. I think if you're trying to be involved in the running of an operation properly, The fact that you're a fan is I think, a bonus. It's a bonus on a Saturday when the team wins, of course. But I think you've got to detach yourself a bit and be quite clinically professional about the job rather than just be a supporter in the boardroom. So it just says that my heart is there. And my heart wants to do this because I believe it's worth doing for a club like this.
Have you yourself set any short-term or long-term goals with where you want to see the club go?
No, I haven't. I think it's a question of getting to handling everything within the club and seeing what's going on. And everything I'm seeing so far, by the way, has encouraged me massively. And I've had long talks with the manager and some of the players, and that's encouraged me even more about the way forward. But no, I haven't set particular targets or goals, except to make this club one that is full of integrity, that's fully professional, that is well worth coming to. And I want to be in a position where every parent will tell his kid who's a good player, going to Accies is a good idea, especially going through that academy and coming through and getting a real chance to be a good player and a good person. And that's another aspect that's very important for me.
Absolutely. Well, you touch on there having conversations with the players, obviously. In your a former capacity at the club, you were quite strongly linked with the players as well. Will you be bringing that same responsibility back into this new era as well?
If it's required, if it's necessary. Although I think at the moment, I remember when I was trying to be involved before, it was when Ali Dawson was the manager. And Ali Dawson was absolutely top-notch guy in every way, a very good manager and a really first-class guy. And that's the same, in my opinion, as the current manager. My involvement in terms of the playing side would be sparked off by the manager. The manager's in control of all of that, and I would just want to help and support him.
You've always had a lot of experience outside of football as well. You mentioned obviously your professional capacity in law. What have you learnt, both in football and outside of it, that you can bring into this position?
I've learned that it's very, very important to do things properly, to do things with integrity, to be known as a club that does things properly and can be trusted. And I think if you do that, then you not only inspire, I think, supporters, but you inspire potential players and recruits. And you also inspire confidence, I think, in other clubs that you're negotiating with and dealing with on a regular basis. And I think all these things are very important.
Well, you mentioned the supporters there. How big of an impact do you feel they can have both in the club and on the pitch on a Saturday as well?
Absolutely huge. There's no doubt about that. And I hope very much, one of the things, a big target for me is to try and encourage as many people as possible to come back and watch what I think is the new Accies now, in this new era. And I want them to come and believe they can support something worthwhile, something with integrity and something that is properly run and is determined to reflect this town very well, and reflect the community very well. The community aspect for me is extremely important. The other thing about supporters is they have to understand, though, that when they come here and support the team, there is nothing to be gained by being abusive to players. And I've been at 2 games recently where I've been quite disturbed abuse that's hurled towards players from time to time. And I cannot believe people want to do that, because it's not going to make the thing better. And it's not going to make the player any better, because it's not going to do his confidence any good at all. And I can tell you also from speaking to players, not just here, but all over the world, that support from a supporters group is vital for players. I mean, we talked at a conversation earlier on about sucking the ball into the net. You almost can do that if you've got that kind of approach to the game. But you cannot become an out-and-out critic constantly because some guy who's trying his very best makes a mistake or misses a good chance or something. That's not a time to condemn, it's a time to support. And I hope we can get that message across. Definitely.
Well, just finally, Jock, don't want to take up too much more of your time, but do you have a message to the fans that are watching this interview and, as you say, try to get them back into Douglas Park?
I have indeed. Please consider coming back here. It's a new club, a new era. We're determined to make you proud. We want the community to look at this club with pride and satisfaction, and they can help a massive amount to do that.
All right, well, Jock, congratulations. Best luck in your new role.
Thank you very much.